Chapter 189. Two Martial Saints. Hidden Sword Sect. The world's #1 swordsman, Lin Fei, had been in seclusion for many days. The higher-ups of the Hidden Sword Sect were all anxiously waiting. They knew that Lin Fei was in seclusion to break through to the foundation establishment stage and become a martial saint. Once successful, the Hidden Sword Sect would have a martial saint presiding over it again. This was of utmost importance for the Hidden Sword Sect. However, so many days had passed and there was no sign of movement. For a time, some of the innate elders of the Hidden Sword Sect were a little restless. Could it be? Some elders were worried in their hearts. They were about to speak to the sect master. Boom! Suddenly, a huge spiritual chi vortex appeared in the void. A terrifying pressure emanated from the mountain. This is the... Everyone's expressions were shocked, but there was a hint of joy in their eyes. That direction was the mountain where Lin Fei was. Many people knew what was going on in their hearts. They all had a bold guess, but no one said it out loud. Time passed little by little. About 4 hours later, the spiritual chi vortex disappeared. Klein. A dazzling sword light flew out from the mountain and instantly rushed to the sky. At the same time, a vast momentum swept across the entire Hidden Sword Sect. Whoosh! Everyone's eyes were fixed on the direction where Lin Fei was. Then, they saw a figure. Lin Fei. Lin Fei indeed appeared. He took step by step, incredibly crossing the air, walking in the void. He came to everyone's front. Everyone was excited in their hearts. They were all martial arts masters of the Hidden Sword Sect. Naturally, they knew the significance of crossing the air and walking in the void. Elder Liu, have you taken that step? An elder couldn't help but ask. Lin Fei nodded and said, "Yes, I have successfully built the foundation and stepped into the realm of martial saint." Lin Fei's words made everyone in the Hidden Sword Sect incredibly excited. The Hidden Sword Sect had a history of over 1,000 years. It's not because they had many martial artists, neither their swordsmanship was exquisite, but because of the martial saints. Martial saints born within the Hidden Sword Sect were not just one or two. The birth of each martial saint could preside over the Hidden Sword Sect for hundreds of years. That almost guaranteed the brilliance of the Hidden Sword Sect for hundreds of years. Several martial saints had come out of the Hidden Sword Sect. Each martial saint could guard the Hidden Sword Sect for 300 to 500 years. Several martial saints could last for 1,000 years. This was the essence of the Hidden Sword Sect. What extreme devotion to the sword, what the #1 sword in the world, what harsha on oneself, all of these were useless. The martial saint was the guarantee of the Hidden Sword Sect. Since 300 years ago, when the martial saint of the Hidden Sword Sect passed away, the power of the Hidden Sword Sect had been declining day by day. Facing the aggressive immortal sects, the Hidden Sword Sect was in constant retreat. It totally lost the spirit of being the #1 martial arts sect. Even the Martial Arts Alliance. In fact, it was established by the Hidden Sword Sect. And the result? It was messed up by a guardian primordial mountain. Now, the Hidden Sword Sect finally gave birth to a martial saint. They could finally hold their heads high. They no longer feared those immortal sects. A martial saint, it's really a martial saint. Ha ha ha, our Hidden Sword Sect finally has a martial saint again. With a martial saint presiding, our Hidden Sword Sect can ensure hundreds of years of glory. For a time, many elders and martial arts masters were extremely excited. Lin Fei's eyes also carried a hint of pride. Now, I am finally not inferior to others. I, the #1 sword under heaven, should not be inferior to the #1 saber under heaven. As for the conflict between the saber and the sword, I do want to spar with Lin Fei again. Lin Fei also had pride in his heart. Originally, he was the #1 sword in the world and he was a martial arts grandmaster early on. And the result? Immortal Slayer saber Lin Fei emerged. Later, he became the #1 saber under heaven. In the world, the number of saber users kept increasing. On the other hand, the number of swordsmen was decreasing. It was impossible for Liu Yibai to not have any thoughts about this. All were martial artists. How could they be willing to lag behind? His sword had not shown its edge in the world for 30 years. And now it was time to show his sword. Once he made a move, it would be the sword of the martial sate. Compared to Li Yibai's ambition and warlike spirit, even thinking of sparring with Lin Fei, the #1 saber under heaven, the sect master and many elders had somewhat unnatural expressions on their faces. Elder Liu, Lin Fei, the martial saint of 9 profound sect, cut down foundation establishment true person Yuan Komzi with his saber. His strength is unfathomable. Even though Elder Liu has become a martial saint, he has not yet consolidated his power. If you rashly take action, I'm afraid. The sect master hesitated to say. Liu Yibai was not an ordinary martial artist. He was the #1 sword in the world. He represented the hidden sword sect. If he really competed with Lin Fei, in case he lost, the one who would be damaged would only be the hidden sword sect. This was the burden of reputation. Liu Yibai frowned. He wanted to say something more. Suddenly, a disciple of the hidden sword sect flew to the front of the crowd. Report. The martial sate of 9 profound sect, Lin Fei, in one day, successively wiped out the Fairy Crane sect and the Watermoon sect, 2 major immortal sects. The 2 major immortal sects' lineage was severed, and all members of the immortal sects were slaughtered to the last man. As soon as the disciples' words fell, the elders, the sect master of the hidden sword sect, and even Liu Yibai were all shocked. Deep inside, they were stirred with shock and horror. Lin Fei's cutting down of the foundation establishment true person, although shocking enough, some martial saints had done it before. However, destroying 2 major immortal sects and severing their lineages was truly too shocking. After all, those immortal sects' mountain-protecting formations were not so easy to break through. As soon as Liu Yibai heard, he understood the gap between him and Lin Fei. So, Liu Yibai sighed deeply and said with a bitter smile, I originally thought that after I became a martial sate, I could compete with Lin Fei. But now it seems, not only is the gap not closing, but it seems to be getting bigger and bigger. Liu Yibai knew very well. A martial artist like Lin Fei, with his unparalleled talent, once surpassed, would be too difficult for Liu Yibai to catch up again. However, slaughtering 2 major immortal sects, this is no small matter. Especially in the current situation, those ancient immortal sects will not sit idly by. Our hidden sword sect is also a major martial arts sect. We can't just stand by. Perhaps I'll have to draw my sword this time. Hiding the sword for 30 years, today I show it to you. Ha ha ha, I'm off. Liu Yibai, 1 man, 1 sword, laughing heartily as he flew out of the hidden sword sect, heading straight for the 9 profound sect. Boom. In a deserted mountain, in the void, a huge spiritual chi vortex suddenly appeared. A massive amount of heaven and earth spiritual chi poured down. Several hours later, a long hell sounded from the deserted mountain. Ha ha ha, I have succeeded in building my foundation. Today I finally become a martial sate. Following this, a heaven-reaching and earth-piercing saber light, emitting unparalleled dominance and sharpness, instantly erupted from the desolate mountain, breaking through the void. Even the spiritual chi vortex in the sky was instantly split apart by this saber light. Shen Liangxin, step by step, traversed the air, walking in the void. Martial sate. Shen Liangxin had also finally achieved martial sate. Brother Lin, I have finally not lagged too far behind you. I wonder whose saber is sharper now. Or even, who is the real #1 saber under heaven? A glint flashed in Shen Liangxin's eyes. In literature, there is no first place, but in martial arts, there is no second place. He was also a saber practitioner. His heart was also very proud. In the beginning, he lost to Lin Fei. And now, he had finally become a martial saint. Naturally, Shen Liangson also wanted to try whose saber was the real #1 saber under heaven. Swoosh! In the next moment, Shen Liangson did not want to delay even for a moment. Stepping the void, he headed toward the direction of the 9 profound sect. Chapter 190. Immortal Sect's Decision. Inside the East Palace of Chan City, Crown Princess Ling Yara was dealing with a pile of complex official affairs. Report. Lin Fei, the martial sage of the 9 profound sect, in a single day, successively trampled over the Fairy Crane sect and Watermoon sect, 2 major immortal sects. Both major immortal sects had their lineage cut off, and everyone in the immortal sects was slaughtered. Thump. The pen in Ling Yara's hand fell to the ground. He really had destroyed the immortal sects. Ling Yara's expression was complicated. Not a single word Lin Fei had said seemed to be false. Every single word he said came true. Even the fact that she is now the crown princess, occupying the East Palace. She was already the next heir to the throne. Her status was incredibly prestigious. But Lin Yara knew all she had now was all fought for her by Lin Fei. Without Lin Fei, she wouldn't even be a princess, let alone a crown princess. Back then, Lin Fei gave her 2 choices. Martial Dao power. She chose power. She even carefully considered if she chose the martial Dao, maybe with Lin Fei's help, she could achieve innate. But what about becoming an innate martial artist? If she did not become a martial sage, it would all be in vain. Even if Lin Fei would do everything he could to help her build her foundation. But how much hope is there? It's minuscule. However, now seeing Lin Fei trampling over the immortal sects, she didn't know why there was a slight stir in Lin Yara's heart. Was her wrong? Lin Yara murmured softly. In the towering sky-reaching tower, one could not see it and at first glance. The sky-reaching sect. One of the oldest immortal sects in Great Chan. At this moment, many top-tier qi condensation cultivators gathered within the sky-reaching sect. No one knew the current generation of the sky-reaching sect actually had 3 foundation establishment true persons. These 3 foundation establishment true persons were always waiting for the right time. It was only when the supreme elder of the royal family reached his limit and passed away, the sky-reaching sect began its layout. Their goal was to control at least half of the world's power. However, they encountered a problem now. The 3 foundation establishment true persons were sitting at the head. Below them were 2 rows of qi condensation cultivators. Dao fellows, the world is now in great chaos and the people are suffering. The Great Chan royal family has lost its authority and the world is vying for it. Our sky-reaching sect, after hiding for hundreds of years, is now time for us to emerge. However, recent news has emerged. The Fairy Crane sect and the Watermoon sect have been trampled and destroyed by Lin Fei, the newly promoted martial sage of the 9 profound sect. Everyone in the 2 major immortal sects has been slaughtered to the last, and their lineage has thus been severed. When Lin Fei started to rise, he successively slew many qi condensation cultivators, respectively killed those from He Mountain Dao and Guardian Primordial Mountain, and burned the title of Immortal Slayer Saber. Later, Lin Fei became a martial sage. He even used his saber to cut down the foundation establishment true person Yuan Konza from the Guardian Primordial Mountain. Now, Lin Fei has trampled over the Watermoon sect and the Fairy Crane sect, acting recklessly. Compared with the founder of the Great Chan from 900 years ago, he probably would not be outdone. With him around, the world of Great Chan cannot be extinguished. Hearing the words of the foundation establishment true person, many qi condensation cultivators also started to discuss. The sky-reaching sect had been hidden for too long. Ever since the royal family's supreme elder suppressed the world, the sky-reaching sect had been hidden for hundreds of years. Unexpectedly, just as they wanted to emerge, vying for power in the world and restore the glory of the sky-reaching sect, there was a new martial sect, Lin Fei. Moreover, all three Foundation establishment true persons of the sky-reaching sect unanimously believed Lin Fei was probably not inferior to the founder of Great Chan. Even if he was not as good, he was almost there. If we let Lin Fei suppress all the immortal sects in the world, wouldn't our sky-reaching sect have to hide for another hundreds of years? Lin Fei has just built his foundation to become a martial saint. In terms of age, he is younger than the three true persons, and he could sit in Great Chan for hundreds of years. We can't wait that long. Now is not the same as when the founder of Great Chan rose to power. We, the immortal sects, have been hiding for hundreds of years, and our accumulations are not ordinary. If it wasn't that the old man of the royal family had reached his limit, with our current strength, we might not have feared him. To ask us to endure for another hundreds of years, how is that possible? Endure, endure, always endure. When will it end? We, the dignified chi cultivators, have to bow down to those martial artists. How frustrating is that? Even martial saints, during our glorious days of the immortal sects, were nothing more than a pawn we could command at will. How do they act against us as they do now? Martial Saint Lin Fei must be eliminated. For a moment, many of the elders had a very firm attitude. They simply did not want to endure. They couldn't bear it any longer. Lin Fei had just become a martial saint, and his lifespan was hundreds of years. If they really had to wait it out, not one of them could outlast Lin Fei. In the end, they couldn't wear out Lin Fei, they would all have to die. As for whether the sky-reaching sect could produce as many Foundation establishment true persons in the future, or whether they could be even more glorious than they are now, who knew? It's not always the case that sealing the mountain would make them continuously strong. The three Foundation establishment true persons looked at each other. In fact, they had a pretty good guess about these chi cultivators' attitudes. Moreover, they didn't want to endure either. It was not easy to achieve the Foundation establishment stage. It was not easy to outlast the supreme elder of the royal family. No another martial saint appeared, and they were supposed to keep waiting. They couldn't take it anymore. It seems that all the elders have a unanimous opinion. That is to kill Martial Saint Lin Fei. Only with Lin Fei dead can the world be ours, the immortal sects. However, this matter cannot be accomplished by a sky-reaching sect alone. We also need to inform the other immortal sects. The Foundation establishment of other immortal sects must also be unbearable now. Back then, the founder of Great Chan defeated each of our immortal sects individually. This time, we cannot repeat the same mistake. If we don't take action, that's fine, but once we do, we must gather all our strength, and with the momentum of thunder and lightning, we will kill Lin Fei in one fell swoop. By then, the power of the world will fall into the hands of our immortal sects. Those martial artists can only be driven by us. Even to prevent things like the founder of Great Chan from happening again, we can even enact martial prohibition. All martial arts above innate will be completely abolished and destroyed. By then, no matter how many martial artists there are, if they can't even reach the innate level, how can they compete with our immortal sects? So, the sky-reaching sect made a decision and immediately sent a message to the other immortal sects to join hands to deal with Lin Fei of the Nine Profound sect. If they didn't take action, that was fine. Once they took action, they must kill Lin Fei. Nine Profound sect, in Lin Fei's cave dwelling, the sect master respectfully came into the cave. Elder Lin, recently, all the major immortal sects have been very quiet. He Mountain Dao and Guardian Primordial Mountain have already sealed their mountains. Even those previously active hidden immortal sects have also stopped supporting the local rebels. It seems that they have all suddenly gone quiet. Lin Fei slowly opened his eyes. It seemed that he didn't find it surprising. He spoke in a calm tone. If there is no movement, then a storm may be brewing. Back then, the supreme elder of the royal family suppressed the major immortal sects for hundreds of years. At the same time, these immortal sects have also accumulated power for hundreds of years. Now the supreme elder of the royal family has passed away, but I have appeared. Sect Master, do you think those immortal sects will continue to endure? The sect master questioned himself. If it were him, he definitely couldn't endure it. After all, Lin Fei is too young. Having become a martial sate, he can suppress the world for hundreds of years. Those Foundation establishment cultivators, not one of them could outlast Lin Fei. If they didn't make a move on Lin Fei now, then they would have even less chance in the future. Under such circumstances, how could the immortal sect remain indifferent? Martial Dao, immortal Dao. Lin Fei murmured quietly. In fact, martial Dao and immortal Dao do not have much conflict. The resources each has are actually quite different. But why were the martial artists and Qi cultivators of Great Chan so tense in their relationship? There's only one reason. Great Chan was too small. The whole world was also too small. It couldn't accommodate both the martial Dao and immortal sects. Elder Lin, you are just one person. But there are dozens of immortal sects. Even the hidden immortal sects that have been passed down for thousands of years are more than 10. Once they really join forces, Elder Lin, how can you resist? The sect master asked with concern. Ever since Lin Fei destroyed the mountain gates of the Watermoon sect and Fairy Crane sect, he had completely broken with the immortal sects. There was no possibility of any reconciliation. I have my own plans, you may go. Lin Fei said indifferently. Yes, Elder. The sect master respectfully left the cave dwelling. However, he was still worried. Can Lin Fei hold on? Chapter 191. The arrival of 10 Foundation establishment stages. Inside his cave dwelling, Lin Fei sat alone on the ground. System. Lin Fei called up the system panel. He checked his martial arts. Host, Lin Fei. Martial arts realm, only martial saint. Saber momentum, beginner, progress 0%. Fist intent, mastery, progress 81%. Immeasurable fist, transcendence, progress 50%. Close yet distant, transcendence, progress 0%. In these few days, Lin Fei's fame spread throughout Great Chan. However, Lin Fei's martial arts had not improved at all. The progress of saber momentum remains at 0. No matter how many saber techniques Lin Fei integrated, they had no effect at all. As for the martial arts realm, it was still in the early stage of martial saint. He didn't have the cultivation method of martial saint and could only rely on the saber essence accumulating little by little on his own. The speed was too slow. At this rate, Lin Fei was afraid it would take hundreds of years to reach the middle stage of martial saint. That is to say, Lin Fei was truly stuck in a bottleneck now. It's not that he didn't work hard on his martial arts, but there's no way. According to the Supreme Elder from the royal family, back then, the founder of Great Chan swept all directions, suppressed the immortal sects of the world, and established Great Chan. He didn't die of old age. He chose to leave Great Chan. Where he went, no one knows. Maybe he went out to sea. Maybe he disappeared to the south. Or even went to the north. Lin Fei murmured quietly. The more he knew, the more Lin Fei understood the feelings of the founder of Great Chan back then. Probably, the situation of the founder of Great Chan back then was not much different from Lin Fei's situation now. He had become a martial saint and even comprehended saber momentum, sweeping invincibly, suppressing the world. But what use was it? He couldn't make any more progress. In Great Chan, this is the pinnacle of martial arts. So, the founder of Great Chan didn't even want to be the emperor. He resolutely left Great Chan. Perhaps he went to find the Tao. Martial arts is also a Tao. The founder of Great Chan might have gone to seek a stronger martial Tao. However, no one knew whether the founder of Great Chan succeeded or not, whether he was alive or dead. After all, it has been 900 years. If the founder of Great Chan couldn't make any further progress in martial arts, he probably would have reached his life limit and died a long time ago. After all, martial saints just have a lifespan of 500 years. Lin Fei closed his eyes. The idea of leaving had already formed in his mind. However, how to leave? And where to go? What would happen to the 9 profound sect after he left? What about his family? What about the situation in the world? All of these matters need to be dealt with. However, of all these matters, actually, the most important and crucial thing was only one: the immortal sects. If the immortal sects were not handled well, even if Lin Fei wanted to leave, he wouldn't be able to, nor would he be at ease. Back then, the founder of Great Chan suppressed the world and made all the major immortal sects seal their mountains. He probably had the same worries as Lin Fei does now. That is, he was wary of the immortal sects. The immortal sects are not all the same. What really left the founder of Great Chan helpless were actually only the top 10 immortal sects. He Mountain Tao and Guardian Primordial Mountain are 2 of the top 10 immortal sects. These immortal sects have a heritage of over 1,000 years. The mountain protecting formation is guarded by powerful magic treasures. Even the founder of Great Chan back then couldn't break the mountain protecting formation of those immortal sects. So, he couldn't truly sweep the immortal sects completely. He could only use another method to suppress the immortal sects to prevent them from causing trouble in a short period of time. Lin Fei thought for a while. He probably could only use this method as well. Among the top 10 immortal sects, not everyone had a foundation establishment true person. For example, He Mountain Tao did not. Although Guardian Primordial Mountain gave birth to a foundation establishment true person, he was cut down by Lin Fei's saber. Therefore, it didn't have one either. Then, only the remaining 8 major immortal sects were left. If the foundation establishment stages of the 8 major immortal sects are all killed. Even if I can't break the gates of those immortal sects, at least I can make them dormant for several decades or even hundreds of years. By then, it should be enough time for me to go out and seek the Tao. Lin Fei had a vague plan in his heart. However, it would be very difficult to completely kill the foundation establishment stages of the 8 major immortal sects. However, now there was an opportunity. Lin Fei had destroyed the Watermoon sect and the Fairy Crane sect. This would certainly shake those immortal sects. Now, the 8 major immortal sects were quiet. But Lin Fei knew they were brewing a major event that would shake the world. Once the 8 major immortal sects made a move, it would definitely not be a small matter. Moreover, the 8 major immortal sects were most likely to target Lin Fei. Unless the 8 major immortal sects wanted to be like them during the time of the founder of Great Chan, being suppressed by the founder of Great Chan to the point of sealing their mountains. Otherwise, the immortal sects would definitely try to eliminate Lin Fei. What Lin Fei was facing next might be 8 or even 10 foundation establishment cultivators. After all, who said there could only be one foundation establishment stage in the immortal sects? Those immortal sects had been in seclusion for hundreds of years. How many foundation establishment true persons have been born? If Lin Fei faced them alone, this battle would indeed be very difficult. To face 8 or even 10 foundation establishment true persons, even if Lin Fei was a martial saint and has even comprehended the saber momentum, those foundation establishment true persons also had powerful magic treasures passed down from the immortal sects 1,000 years ago. However, I am not alone. A hint of a smile appeared at the corner of Lin Fei's mouth. He had sent out letters to the Hidden Sword sect and the small town where Shen Liangson was. Although there was no reply yet, Lin Fei believed, at least, Shen Liangson would definitely come. Because Shen Liangson still owed Lin Fei a life. As for whether Liu Yibai would come, Lin Fei was not sure. After all, Chen Liangxin was a loner, a wanderer in the martial arts world. But Liu Yibai was different. Behind Liu Yibai, there is the Hidden Sword sect. Every move of Liu Yibai represents the Hidden Sword sect. However, whether Liu Yibai comes or not, Lin Fei must win this battle. The founder of Great Chan was able to sweep invincibly and suppress the immortal sects, so can I. Lin Fei closed his eyes. He was slowly adjusting his state, adjusting his mood. At this time, thinking about improving one's strength was simply impossible. Moreover, what preparation, what scheme, under the power at this level, actually had no effect at all. At this time, it was a competition of true strength. Time passed bit by bit. Lin Fei kept his eyes closed. Nobody disturbed him. His state of mind, too, had completely fallen into a calm state. Whoosh! Suddenly, Lin Fei opened his eyes. Just now, in that extreme state of mind, he sensed a slight fluctuation in the spiritual qi of the Nine Profound Sect. Although this fluctuation did not appear in the Nine Profound Sect and it was very faint, it was eventually caught by Lin Fei. Finally here. Lin Fei's eyes were calm. He then stood up and took a step forward. Whoosh! Lin Fei had arrived outside the cave mansion. Step by step, he walked through the air and arrived in the void. Since you're here, show yourself. Lin Fei's voice echoed in the void. What a Nine Profound Sect martial state. We just arrived and you've already noticed. But noticing us doesn't mean anything. This time we came with a straightforward attitude to completely crush you. With the sound of the voice in the void, above the Nine Profound Sect, one figure after another had appeared. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lin Fei swept his gaze over. 10 Foundation Establishment True Persons. You really think highly of me. I'm afraid that even the founder of Great Chan didn't have the treatment of being besieged by 10 Foundation Establishment True Persons. Lin Fei looked at the 10 figures in the void and said calmly. Chapter 192. Who said that there is only one martial site? 10 Foundation Establishment True Persons. Now, they had all descended upon the Nine Profound Sect. At this time, the people of the Nine Profound Sect finally noticed the anomaly. The 10 figures in the void. The aura they exude was simply shocking. The aura of each one seemed to be far stronger than that of Yuan Komze. Obviously, they were all Foundation Establishment True Persons. Jiao Kongming, the sect master, and others immediately left the cave. Sect master, you better not come over. These are the Foundation Establishment cultivators of the immortal sects. Your presence won't make any difference. If I lose, the Nine Profound Sect will naturally be unprotected. If I win, the Nine Profound Sect can prosper for hundreds of years. Lin Fei said calmly. Jiao Kongming, the sect master, both of their eyes reddened instantly. 10 Foundation Establishment True Persons. Such a lineup is simply unheard of, and it's all just to besiege Lin Fei. Jiao Kongming's hand clenched tightly on the hilt of his sword. However, he also knew that Lin Fei was telling the truth. He could no longer intervene in this kind of battle. This is a battle of Foundation Establishment. It is the pinnacle battle of the entire Great Chan. Indeed, martial state lenders of self-awareness. If you lose, the Nine Profound Sect will naturally cease to exist. As for winning, Marshal Saint Lin, do you think there's a chance? One of the Foundation Establishment True Persons said with a sneer. Whoosh! Lin Fei stared straight at him. He asked coldly, who are you? Skyridge Sect, True Person Tom Zhuan. The Foundation Establishment True Person responded coldly as well. Perhaps I can't kill the 10 True Persons. But it's still easy for me to kill you. If I lose, I will kill you. Suddenly, a cold murderous intent emanated from Lin Fei. True person Tong Xuan's heart shivered, and even the expression on his face froze slightly. Even though there were 9 other Foundation establishment true persons by his side, true person Tong Xuan still felt a chill all over his body. Martial Sate. He was facing a martial sate who was no less than the founder of Great Chan. Moreover, Lin Fei's saber had slain Yuan Konzi and trampled on the mountain gates of the Fairy Crane sect and the Watermoon sect. This was not just talk. This was a reputation, and through killing. Martial Saint Lin, you are also a martial sate, there's no need to make threats. In fact, the 9 profound sect can coexist peacefully with our immortal sects. But you were just too aggressive. Trampling on the Watermoon sect and the Fairy Crane sect is an insult to our immortal sect's fundamentals. We had no choice but to take action. Is that so? You're afraid of the appearance of a second founder of Great Chan, aren't you? Lin Fei stood with his hands behind him, his expression still calm. In fact, as long as Lin Fei achieved martial sate status and showed dominance, this battle was inevitable. It was just a matter of time. After all, if Great Chan collapsed and the immortal sect controlled the world, then the disciples of the 9 profound sect and other martial artists would inevitably come into conflict with the immortal sect sooner or later. At that time, where would Lin Fei go? In the end, he could only fight. What Lin Fei was defending was not Great Chan but the martial arts. The world of Great Chan was too small to accommodate both martial arts and immortal cultivation. All right, the formation has been set up. Martial Saint Lin, you shouldn't have talked so much with us. Now that the formation is complete, you have no hope of escape. Buzz. With these words from the Foundation establishment true persons, the entire 9 profound sect was shrouded in a layer of fate light. This was the formation. The formation covered the entire 9 profound sect. Just now these Foundation establishment true persons were talking nonsense with Lin Fei. In fact, they were buying time, setting up the formation. The purpose of setting up this formation was to prevent Lin Fei from escaping. They cut off Lin Fei's only hope of escape. Escape. Lin Fei's eyes were deep, his expression indifferent. He coldly said, "Have you ever heard of me running away in this world? Moreover, you delay time and set up a formation. How is it not that I am also buying time, waiting for reinforcements?" The 10 Foundation establishment true persons were taken aback for a moment. Then they burst into laughter. Reinforcements. Martial Saint Lin, in this world, there is only you as a martial sate. What kind of reinforcements could you have? Is it some innate martial artists? Or do you have any Foundation establishment true persons who are on good terms with you? These Foundation establishment true persons all laughed. In the entire Great Chan, Lin Fei was the only martial sate. As for the Foundation establishment true persons, they were all in the immortal sects. Even if, this time, some of the immortal sect's Foundation establishment true persons didn't come with them, there were also no Foundation establishment true persons from any immortal sect who would lend a hand to Lin Fei and confront the 8 major immortal sects. So, the reinforcements that Lin Fei was waiting for were probably a joke. Lin Fei's gaze was deep. Suddenly, he looked towards the void outside the 9 profound sect. His eyes were calm, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Who said that there is only one martial sate in Great Chan? Huh? The 10 Foundation establishment true persons' faces changed slightly. The next moment, they all turned their gazes to the rear in unison. Behind them, a figure was walking step by step. It was a black-robed saber wielder. In his hand was a plain and unadorned saber. Most importantly, he was in the void. Walking on air. Martial sate. The 10 Foundation establishment true persons were somewhat uncertain. How did another martial sate appear? And they had no prior information. Brother Lin, I'm glad I'm not late. Shen Liangxin quietly looked at Lin Fei and the 10 Foundation establishment true persons. There was not a trace of fear on his face. Congratulations, Brother Shen, on your successful foundation establishment and becoming a martial sage. Lin Fei smiled slightly. Shen Liangxin had arrived. This was the person Lin Fei had the most confidence in. Shen Liangxin was like the saber in his hand. Simple, cold, but a man of his word. Shen Liangxin owed Lin Fei a life. Then he would repay it. Even if faced with the 10 foundation establishment true persons, it would be the same. The second martial sage. I didn't expect that Great Chan has a second martial sage. That's right, Lin Fei was able to become a martial sage. He must have found the flesh and blood of an exotic beast. So, there must not be a small amount of exotic beast flesh and blood. Creating a second martial sage is not impossible. So what if there's a second martial sage? In the face of us, the 10 foundation establishment true persons, it's still a dead end. Correct, it's good that this second martial sage has come out, perfect for exterminating them all in one fell swoop. It will also save some obstacles in the future when implementing the prohibition of martial arts. HN. Prohibition of martial arts. The faces of Lin Fei and Shen Liangxin grew cold. The 10 foundation establishment true persons now had the upper hand. Even if Shen Liangxin appeared, it would be the same. Therefore, there was nothing to hide about the prohibition of martial arts. If we immortal sects were to hold the world's power, naturally we would want to implement the prohibition of martial arts to avoid having characters like Great Chan's founding emperor or martial sage Lin in the future. Without powerful martial artists, who will compete with the chi cultivators? Wouldn't the world be at peace then? Ha ha ha, what a peaceful world. At this point, from the void outside the 9 profound sect, another figure walked step by step. Still walking on air. Martial sage. Another martial sage. This was the third martial sage. For a moment, the faces of the 10 foundation establishment true persons changed drastically. They could tolerate one variable. But now, there was a second variable. Who knows if there is a third, a fourth variable? Brother Liu, I didn't expect you to come too. Congratulations, Brother Liu, for also achieving the status of martial sage. Lin Fei was a bit surprised. He didn't expect Li Yibai to come as well. The relationship between Lin Fei and Shen Liangxin was naturally different. Shen Liangxin owed Lin Fei a life, while Li Yibai only had a cooperative relationship with Lin Fei. At most, there was a bit of friendship. However, this bit of friendship was not enough for Li Yibai to stake his life and the entire Hidden Sword sect to help Lin Fei. But Li Yibai still came. If I don't come, the immortal sects will implement the prohibition of martial arts. How can we Hidden Sword sect avoid this? Li Yibai's eyes were getting colder. Prohibition of martial arts. Li Yibai didn't expect these immortal sects to be so crazy. They wanted to implement the prohibition of martial arts. Once Lin Fei and Shen Liangxin were both defeated, the Hidden Sword sect only had him as a martial sage. He would probably be unable to hold on alone. By then, he would still not be able to escape the fate of being destroyed by those immortal sects. This battle was no longer the immortal sects besieging Lin Fei. It was a confrontation between the Tao of Immortality and the martial arts of Great Chan. As the world's #1 swordsman and the martial saint of the Hidden Sword sect, at this time, he had to stand up. Hidden Sword sect, the current world's #1 swordsman, didn't expect him to become a martial saint as well. That's miscalculated. If I'm not wrong, Lin Fei and the others becoming martial saints must have something to do with Li Yibai. Hidden Sword sect, the foundation, is indeed not weaker than our immortal sects. If I knew this, I should have destroyed the Hidden Sword sect first. But now it's not too late. 3 martial saints, with 10 foundation establishment true persons join hands and each carrying our sect's treasure. Can't we deal with 3 martial saints? HMPH, with 10 Foundation establishment true persons join hands, even if the founding emperor of Great Charm is reborn, he will undoubtedly die. For a moment, the spiritual power of the 10 Foundation establishment true person surged. True persons' magic bodies were attracting the spiritual chi of heaven and earth within hundreds of miles, madly converging in the void. The momentum of the 3 martial saints and the 10 Foundation establishment true persons also gradually confronted silently in the void. Slash. Shen Liangxin made the first move. The saber in his hand was drawn instantly. Clang. A dazzling saber light, as if tearing the void. Like a ribbon that penetrated heaven and earth, it slashed fiercely on the array set up by the 10 Foundation establishment true persons. Chapter 193. Saber momentum dominates the scene. Boon. This saber strike from Shen Liangxin was extremely terrifying. More than 1,000 meters of saber light ripped through the void. Everywhere was filled with terrifying saber edges. This saber light struck the array. Although this array was set up jointly by the 10 Foundation establishment true persons, it was from the inside out. It was specifically used to trap Lin Fei, to prevent Lin Fei from escaping. Breaking the array from the inside was too hard. However, to break it from the outside was a piece of cake. At least, the power at the Foundation establishment level could easily break it. SSS. This saber light from Shen Liangxin instantly broke the array. Ha ha ha, 10 Foundation establishment true persons. Try this sword of mine. Whoosh. Liu Yibai also drew his sword. This sword, its light reached the heavens and pierced the earth as if tearing the void. Every Foundation establishment true person present felt as if they were being torn apart. A great battle broke out between the martial saints and Foundation establishment true persons. Once they got close, martial artists would have an absolute advantage. And now, it was actually close combat. At such a close distance, whether it was Shen Liangxin's saber or Liu Yibai's sword, they both posed a substantial threat to each Foundation establishment true person. Once hit by a sword, these Foundation establishment true persons couldn't withstand it. They would die from a single sword strike. However, these Foundation establishment true persons were not like Yuan Konzi, who had just entered the Foundation establishment. Moreover, they had made ample preparations this time. They brought the sect's treasures. Watch my purple cloud heavenly robe. One the Foundation establishment true persons, with a wave of his hand, a purple light enveloped many Foundation establishment true persons in front of him. Hum. The saber light from Shen Liangxin and the sword light from Liu Yibai struck the purple cloud heavenly road. But they could only ripple it slightly. Then, they disappeared into nothingness. Magic treasure. This was another incredibly powerful magic treasure. It could block one strike from Shen Liangxin and Liu Yibai, 2 martial saints. At the same time, in the void, a large spiritual chi vortex gathered and it covered the sky, exuding a terrifying pressure. Foundation establishment true persons need to utilize spiritual chi to use their spells and talismans. Without spiritual chi, relying solely on spiritual power, the power of spells and talismans would not be so terrifying. Magic treasures also need spiritual chi to function. Now, 10 Foundation establishment true persons displayed their magic bodies together. The magic bodies naturally attracted a large number of spiritual chi of heaven and earth. Therefore, it had almost gathered into a large spiritual chi cloud now. As the spiritual chi cloud grew more and more terrifying, with the spiritual power of the 10 Foundation establishment true persons casting spells or talismans under such a huge spiritual chi cloud, their power would definitely be earth-shattering. In this scene, both Shen Liangxin and Liu Yibai looked sullen. Heavenly Fire Art. It was the Heavenly Fire Art again. Originally a common spell. However, once cast by a Foundation establishment true person and there was such a terrifying spiritual chi cloud, its power would also become very terrifying. Perhaps it wouldn't kill martial saints, but under the heavenly fire art, the Nine Profound sect would be burnt to ashes. The Nine Profound sect faced a crisis of extermination. Would Lin Fei save them? This was a clear stratagem. The 10 Foundation establishment true persons had reached a consensus long ago. Since they were going to take action, they would not hold back at all. First, they would lull Lin Fei away. Then they would join forces to kill Shen Liangxin and Li Yibai. By that time, they would focus all their efforts on besieging Lin Fei. They all knew, among these 3 martial saints, the strongest one was definitely Lin Fei. Whoosh! Liu Yibai immediately saw through the plan of the 10 Foundation establishment cultivators. So, he swung out a sword light. This sword light contained a sharp edge running through heaven and earth. The sharp true essence could cut everything. However, when his sword light struck the massive spiritual chi cloud, the result was like a mud cow entering the sea. Without a trace of reaction, Liu Yibai felt a slight sinking feeling in his heart. It's no use, there's no power that can destroy such a massive spiritual chi cloud. The 10 of us Foundation establishment true persons are not just about numbers when we take action together. Our magic bodies of Foundation establishment true persons can attract a large amount of spiritual chi. With spiritual chi, the power of our spells can be greatly enhanced. Even if you have 3 martial saints, you are doomed to die. The 10 Foundation establishment true persons saw this scene. They were also greatly reassured. With the spiritual chi cloud, they were almost invincible. In other words, the power of any spell or talisman they cast would be amplified. How could they lose under such circumstances? Is that so? Lin Fei slowly spoke. He raised his head and looked at the spiritual chi cloud in the void. Then, Lin Fei's mind moved. The saber momentum erupted. Boon. On Lin Fei, a translucent light appeared. This translucent light, with Lin Fei as the center, spread in all directions, instantly enveloping all 10 Foundation establishment true persons. Suddenly, the 10 Foundation establishment true persons felt as if they were in a quagmire. It was as if they were carrying a mountain on their bodies, very heavy, struggling to move. At the same time, Lin Fei's saber momentum was even more overwhelming. It extended to the terrifying spiritual chi cloud in the void in an instant. It even trapped the spiritual chi cloud. Disperse. Lin Fei uttered softly. Suddenly, it was as if his words became reality. The spiritual chi cloud in the void actually began to shake violently and then rapidly shrank. In the end, it disappeared without a trace. The spiritual chi cloud had really been dispersed. Impossible. All the Foundation establishment true persons were looking at the spiritual chi cloud in the void with shock. Their hearts were filled with terror. Especially when the translucent light radiating from Lin Fei enveloped them, they felt their magic bodies and spiritual power seemed to be suppressed. A light flashed through some of the older Foundation establishment true persons' minds. Momentum. This is saber momentum. Just like the great Chan ancestor, he has realized the momentum. For a moment, the 10 Foundation establishment true persons were shocked. Whether a martial saint has momentum or not is a completely different concept. And now, Lin Fei had actually evolved the momentum. Moreover, it was one of the most terrifying saber momentum. In the saber momentum, Lin Fei held an absolute advantage. He could suppress the strength of the 10 Foundation establishment true persons by 3 to 5/10. This is a terrifying number, almost suppressing half of their power, for anyone, is a huge blow. Of course, this only referred to spiritual power. If the Foundation establishment true person were to use magic treasure, although magic treasure would also be suppressed by the saber momentum, it was just a small part. Saber momentum. Brother Lin, have you already reached this step? Shen Liangxin and Liu Yibai were slightly taken aback. Looking at Lin Fei, their eyes were somewhat complicated. They were all martial saints and naturally understood the meaning of saber momentum. Originally, they felt that they had become martial saints and they were back on the same level with Lin Fei. However, it seemed now the gap hadn't been narrowed at all but even bigger. Because it's too difficult to comprehend the momentum. Liu Yibai knew there might be martial saints throughout the generations of the Hidden Sword sect, but there were no martial saints who understood the sword momentum. Shen Liaxin also tried to evolve the saber momentum. However, it's simply impossible. He even felt that there was no hope in this life to evolve the saber momentum. He didn't expect that Lin Fei had already evolved the saber momentum. Lin Fei now was no longer just a martial saint. Once the saber momentum comes out, Lin Fei is a saber saint. Tongjuan. Lin Fei's gaze fell on true person Tongjuan. He said that he would kill true person Tongjuan. And now, it was his time to take action. Whoosh! The next moment, Lin Fei took a step forward. At the same time, all the saber essence in Lin Fei's body instantly gathered in his hand, condensing a 30 meters heavenly saber. A 30 meters heavenly saber, that was enough. Slash! Lin Fei's eyes were cold. The 30-meter heavenly saber fell on true person Tongxuan's head. Again, within the saber momentum, the boost of the 30-meter heavenly saber reached an unimaginable level. True person Tongxuan seemed to feel the breath of death. Chapter 194. 5 Types of Saber Momentum. There is great terror between life and death. True person Tongxuan, a look of terror flashed across his face. He was a high and mighty foundation establishment true person. He could live for 500 years. Even now, he was not even 200 years old and still had 300 years of life to live. He didn't want to die. But Lin Fei's saber momentum, pressing down on him, already caused his spiritual power to run not smoothly. Now there was even a 30-meter heavenly saber locked on him. True person Tongxuan could feel, once the heavenly saber fell, he would die. Sky-reaching tower. A small and exquisite magic treasure flew out of true person Tongxuan's body. This was an imitation of the real sky-reaching tower. Although it was an imitation, it was still a genuine magic treasure. Once the Qi cultivators of the sky-reaching sect reached the Qi condensation 7th level or above, they would be bestowed a sky-reaching tower magical artifact by the sect. This could grow. With daily cultivation, once the foundation establishment is successful, becoming a foundation establishment true person, then this sky-reaching tower magical artifact will also transform into a magic treasure. Incredibly powerful. With this method, the strength of the sky-reaching sect's high-level Qi condensation cultivators above the 7th layer was quite good. Especially the foundation establishment true persons. The longer the cultivation, the more terrifying the power of the sky-reaching tower. At this moment, true person Tongxuan deployed the sky-reaching tower. This was his life-bound magic treasure. But he still felt insecure. He pointed a finger. Shoo! A flying sword instantly flew towards Lin Fei. True person Tongxuan actually had 2 magic treasures. The sky-reaching tower in the open, the flying sword in the dark. When he fought someone, both of his magic treasures came out, even a foundation establishment true person couldn't withstand it. However, facing true person Tongxuan's 2 magic treasures, Lin Fei didn't even look at them. The 30-meter heavenly saber still slashed down. In an instant, the flying sword arrived in front of Lin Fei. Lin Fei directly stretched out his fair hand. With his flesh and blood, he directly grabbed the flying sword. Ding! The flying sword stabbed toward Lin Fei's hand. It was as if it stabbed at metal. Then, Lin Fei grabbed the sharp flying sword. With a hard squeeze. Crack! The flying sword was crushed and turned into fragments. It was then thrown by Lin Fei and fell down. My flying sword! You actually destroyed my flying sword. True person Tongxuan's face turned pale white. His eyes instantly turned red. This was his magic treasure. He forged it with great difficulty. Now that the magic treasure was destroyed, it was simply heart-wrenching. However, Lin Fei didn't care. The next moment, Lin Fei's 30-meter heavenly saber finally fell. It slashed harshly onto the sky-reaching tower. Boom! A tremendous force came from the 30-meter heavenly saber. The sky-reaching tower was bright. Spiritual chi surged, but it couldn't hold for long. Crack! A crack appeared. Then, the cracks grew more and more. Boom! The next moment, the sky-reaching tower was directly shattered. Shattered by Lin Fei's 30-meter heavenly saber. Pfft! True person Tongxuan spits out a mouthful of fresh blood. The sky-reaching tower was different from the flying sword. This was his life-bound magic treasure. Once it shattered, it would cause a backlash for him. But now, he didn't even care about the consequences of the backlash. Because when the sky-reaching tower shattered, once the heavenly saber fell, he would die. Senior brother, save me. The sky-reaching sect, this time 2 Foundation Establishment True Persons came. The other Foundation Establishment True Person, seeing that Tongxuan was in danger, immediately deployed his own sky-reaching tower. Suppress. Immediately, a huge sky-reaching tower shone brightly as if it had suddenly become hundreds of meters tall. From top to bottom, it covered Lin Fei's head. Moreover, not only the Foundation Establishment True Person of the sky-reaching sect, but there were also other Foundation Establishment True Persons. They also took action together to besiege Lin Fei. There were about 5 Foundation Establishment True Persons in total. They besieged Lin Fei together. Lin Fei's face remained unchanged. The saber essence in his body was, even more, exploding wildly. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Lin Fei flicked his finger. One after another saber essence instantly flew out, flying toward the 5 Foundation Establishment True Persons around him. Moreover, these saber essence directly condensed into treasure sabers. These treasure sabers were just like they were controlled by someone, exuding a fierce aura. Saber intent. These treasure sabers condensed from saber essence. They also had saber intent. Moreover, just like living creatures, they each performed the entire saber technique. 3 abyssal sabers. Every saber was full of murderous aura. Just like a demon from hell. The terrifying saber-killing intent was impacting the Foundation Establishment True Person's mind, causing their heart to tremble. In the face of danger, where would they have the energy to save True Person Tongxuan? 23 sabers. That was pure speed. One saber was faster than the other. So fast that in the end, one couldn't even see the saber. Just incredibly sharp edges surrounding a Foundation Establishment True Person. That Foundation Establishment True Person could only shrink in the protection of his magic treasure and dare not act rashly. Eternal Night Saber Technique. With a single saber strike, the whole world seemed to fall into a dead silence of darkness. The Foundation Establishment True Person could only try to tear the night in this darkness. Samsara Saber Technique. 1 saber, 1 world. Every saber seemed to create a world. Beautiful and fascinating, people unconsciously get lost in it. God-slaying saber technique was the most terrifying. With 1 saber, it seemed as if the spirit had been heavily hit. Every saber struck at the heart. After several sabers, the spirit and soul of the Foundation Establishment True Person showed flaws. The saber intent was everywhere. No one expected that it would turn out like this. How could this be? Are we really fighting a martial state? Even if the founder of Great Chan came back to life, he wouldn't be this terrifying, right? 1 person fighting against 6 Foundation Establishment True Persons. even completely suppressing the 6 foundation establishment true persons. Seeing this scene, the 10 foundation establishment true persons were shocked. They underestimated Lin Fei too much. Especially Lin Fei's methods at this moment, even though they had never heard of them. Could a martial state fight like this? A martial state evolves saber momentum, then he uses saber essence, but can it make the saber essence fight on its own? The key is that those saber techniques could actually fight against the foundation establishment true person on equal terms. This is a bit unbelievable. However, no matter how shocked these foundation establishment true persons were, Lin Fei's 30-meter heavenly saber did not stop for a moment. Finally, it fell on true person Tong Xuan's head. No. True person Tong Xuan let out a miserable scream. He wanted to escape. But under the suppression of the saber momentum, even escape is a luxury now. But the next moment, the 30-meter heavenly saber slashed down fiercely. True person Tong Xuan's body protection spell, just like tofu, was easily cut open by Lin Fei's heavenly saber. At the same time, the terrifying saber essence directly shredded true person Tong Xuan's body. Boom. Not even the body of true person Tong Xuan did remain. It was directly shredded by the saber essence and turned into a mist of blood, permeating in the void, emitting a strong smell of blood. True person Tong Xuan was dead. A foundation establishment true person had fallen. For a moment, everyone seemed to be still at this moment, their thoughts stopped. Another foundation establishment had fallen. Although before, Lin Fei had slain Yuan Konzu with his saber, no one saw it. At least, the foundation establishments and martial saints present, none of them saw it. But now, they watched with their own eyes, Lin Fei, under the siege of 6 foundation establishment true persons, still forcefully killed a foundation establishment true person. Moreover, it was true person Tong Xuan from the sky-reaching sect. Among the foundation establishments, he was not weak. But now, he had turned into a pool of blood mist. He died without a whole body. Moreover, the 5 saber essence split by Lin Fei also produced unexpected effects. In Lin Fei's mind, the system's voices sounded one after another. Your saber technique, 3 axial sabers, with the help of saber momentum, suppressed the foundation establishment true person. In a good mood, it began to evolve the killing saber momentum. Your saber technique, 23 saber, with the help of saber momentum, suppressed the foundation establishment true person. In a good mood, it began to evolve fast saber momentum. Your eternal night saber technique, with the help of saber momentum, suppressed the foundation establishment true person. In a good mood, it began to evolve eternal night saber momentum. Your samsara saber technique, with the help of saber momentum, suppressed the foundation establishment true person. In a good mood, it began to evolve samsara saber momentum. Your god-slaying saber technique, with the help of saber momentum, suppressed the foundation establishment true person. In a good mood, it began to evolve god-slaying saber momentum. Lin Fei never expected, just by dividing into 5 types of saber techniques to fight against the foundation establishment true person, these saber techniques actually had insights during the battle and began to evolve the saber momentum. This was really too promising. After all, Lin Fei hadn't even thought about letting other saber techniques evolve the saber momentum. After all, it's too hard. But now, the 5 kinds of saber techniques were all too promising. They had already begun to evolve the saber momentum. 5 kinds of saber momentum, once they evolve and integrate into Lin Fei's saber momentum could probably make rapid progress immediately. Moreover, Lin Fei's saber momentum not only integrated these 5 top-tier innate saber techniques, but there were also even more top-tier innate saber techniques. Once those saber techniques evolved the saber momentum, then how strong would Lin Fei's saber momentum be? Chapter 195. Saber Momentum Mastery, Slaying 10 Foundation Establishments. However, the evolution of the 5 saber techniques was still a lack of opportunity. As for what the opportunity was, Lin Fei already had a rough idea. Whoosh! Lin Fei's gaze was on the 5 foundation establishment true persons. The 5 saber techniques were entangling with the 5 foundation establishment true persons. In the end, it was just entanglement. To slay the 5 foundation establishment true persons, Lin Fei's 5 saber techniques or Lin Fei's 5 saber essence was still not enough. Lin Fei didn't hesitate anymore. He no longer had any reservations. Boom! The saber essence in Lin Fei's body erupted in an instant. Strands of saber essence flew out from Lin Fei's body. Lin Fei almost erupted more than 90% of the saber essence in his body all at once. Immediately, the 5 saber essence suddenly increased dramatically. The momentum of the 5 saber techniques also reached the peak all at once. The 5 foundation establishment true persons had a chill in their hearts. But Lin Fei had already shouted in a low voice, whoosh! The 5 saber essence, the saber light surged and, moreover, it carried the terrifying oppressive power of saber momentum. He gave a fierce slash at the 5 foundation establishment true persons. Boom! The 5 foundation establishment true persons let out a scream. Then, the entire void quieted down. They were dead. The 5 foundation establishment true persons all had fallen. For a moment, the void was filled with a strong smell of blood. Your 3 abyssal sabers have successfully comprehended and evolved the killing saber momentum. Your 23 saber has successfully comprehended and evolved fast saber momentum. Your Eternal Night Saber technique has successfully comprehended and evolved the Eternal Night Saber momentum. Your Samsara Saber technique has successfully comprehended and evolved the Samsara Saber momentum. Your God-slaying Saber technique has successfully comprehended and evolved the God-slaying Saber momentum. Shoo, shoo, shoo. The 5 saber essence instantly came to Lin Fei's front. All of them emitted a kind of saber momentum. It's no longer saber intent but the real saber momentum. Take it. Lin Fei took the 5 saber essence into his body. Your killing saber momentum merges with heaven saber momentum. Your progress in training saber momentum has increased by 20%. Your fast saber momentum merges with heaven saber momentum. Your progress in training saber momentum has increased by 20%. The system's voice sounded again in Lin Fei's mind. 5 types of saber momentum fused with Lin Fei's original saber momentum. Moreover, each saber momentum increased Lin Fei's progress in practicing saber momentum by 20%. 5 types of saber momentum, that's 100%. Boom! Lin Fei's saber momentum began to metamorphose. Your saber momentum training progress has reached 100%. Your saber momentum has broken through to mastery. Lin Fei's saber momentum, from beginner, finally broke through to mastery. The saber momentum was also undergoing earth-shaking changes. Bursts of terrifying pressure descended on everyone in the saber momentum. At this moment, of the 10 foundation establishment true persons, only 4 foundation establishment true persons were left. They saw Lin Fei/5 foundation establishment true persons with 1 saber. Their hearts were filled with immense fear. Who dared to fight anymore? So, they all used their escape techniques, transforming into a light of escape, wanting to run away. Want to leave? It's too late. A sharp light flashed in Lin Fei's eyes. Although the beginner-level saber momentum could suppress the foundation establishment true persons if they were determined to leave, they might really be able to escape. But Lin Fei's saber momentum had already reached mastery. The power of saber momentum at the mastery level increased several times. Suppress. Lin Fei let out a low shout. Immediately, the saber essence in Lin Fei's body instantly merged into the saber momentum. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Immediately, a large amount of saber essence, like raindrops, instantly pierced through the bodies of the 4 foundation establishment true persons. Ah! The 4 foundation establishment true persons screamed. Their bodies were pierced by the saber essence, pockmarked. It looked horrendous. Plop. They all fell from the void, turned into a pile of mush. They were dead. All foundation establishment true persons had fallen. These were the top 10 foundation establishment true persons. They were strong enough to sweep across the entire Great Chan. Seeing this scene, Liu Yibai and Shen Liangxin were silent. The disciples and elders of the 9 profound sect, at this moment, couldn't believe their own eyes. They had seen the whole process of the fight. 10 foundation establishment true persons were slain by Lin Fei alone. This was simply one man ruling the world. Even the founder of Great Chan probably couldn't do this, right? In fact, the founder of Great Chan was even inferior to Lin Fei. Shen Liangxin looked deeply at Lin Fei. He slowly said, "Brother Lin, it seems that even if we hadn't come, you would have been able to slay these 10 cultivators. Originally, when I succeeded in foundation building and achieved the status of a martial sage, I wanted to come to the 9 profound sect and compete with Brother Lin in saber arts again, to see who is the #1 saber under heaven. However, it seems now that there's no need for competition." Shen Liangxin was self-aware Lin Fei had evolved the saber momentum. If he were to fight with Lin Fei in front of Lin Fei, he might not even have the qualification to unsheath his saber. The saber momentum might only be oppressive to others, but for a saberist, even for a martial sage saberist, as long as he didn't evolve the saber momentum, it's impossible to unsheath the saber under the cover of the saber momentum. This is the domineering nature of the saber momentum. Li Yibai also looked deeply at Lin Fei. He said in a deep voice, "Saber momentum, ah. In the history of my hidden sword sect, many martial saints were born, but none of them could comprehend the sword momentum. The only martial artist I know who has evolved the momentum is the founder of Great Chan. I didn't expect that Brother Lin would also comprehend the momentum, and it's even the saber momentum." Li Yibai was a member of the hidden sword sect. Naturally, he understood the power of saber momentum. The saber momentum for a martial sage is just like the saber intent for an innate martial artist. A martial sage with and without the saber momentum are completely 2 different levels. A typical martial sage can deal with a foundation establishment cultivator, or he can suppress a foundation establishment true person. But if a martial sage evolves the saber momentum, he can suppress 4 or 5 or even more foundation establishment true persons. And that's by using his own power to suppress. Like Lin Fei, a martial sage with exceptional talent, once comprehend the saber momentum, that's just like now, easily suppress the top 10 foundation establishment true persons with his own power. The strength shown by Lin Fei can already be described as invincible. At least, after this battle, the whole Great Chan would spread the name of Lin Fei as invincible. I must thank Brother Liu and Brother Shen for coming to the 9 profound sect this time to lend me a hand. Lin Fei didn't forget Liu Yibai and Shen Liangxin. After all, they came to the 9 profound sect and fought alongside him. Both of you, please stay in my 9 profound sect for some time. We can exchange views and discuss sword and saber techniques. Especially the saber momentum. I will share everything I know. Lin Fei invited Shen Liangxin and Li Yibai. For martial saints like Shen Liangxin and Li Yibai, what was the most attractive thing? It's probably Lin Fei's saber momentum. Lin Fei was now the only one in the Great Chan who had evolved the saber momentum. Even, he was the second martial sage who had comprehended the saber momentum after the founder of Great Chan. Lin Fei was undoubtedly the saber sage. If they discussed and exchanged views with Lin Fei, they would surely understand momentum more deeply. They might even find the direction to evolve momentum. The 2 of them were naturally very interested. However, Liu Yibai suddenly spoke, "Brother Lin, you have slain the 10 foundation establishment cultivators and your fame shakes the world. But this does not mean that you can rest easy. Foundation establishment true persons, when they die, they die. But as long as the immortal sects exist, there will be a constant stream of Foundation establishment true persons being born. The immortal sects are the fundamental issue. As Liu Yibai's words fell, everyone was silent. They naturally knew that the immortal sects were the fundamental issue. No matter how much damage the immortal sect suffered, as long as they closed the mountain for a period of time, short as several decades, long as several centuries, they could recover. Without destroying the immortal sects, the great Chan martial artists and Qi condensation cultivators would inevitably wage war again. Since the immortal sects are the fundamental issue, then I will shatter the immortal sects. There was a glint in Lin Fei's eyes. In the 13th year of Yongqing in Great Chan, April 23rd, the 10 Foundation establishment true persons of the immortal sects set up a trap and attacked the 9 profound sect. The Saber Sage Lin Fei evolved the Saber Momentum and killed the 10 Foundation establishment true persons. When the news spread, the immortal sects were greatly shocked. The martial arts world was greatly shocked. The whole world was greatly shocked. Chapter 196. Unrivaled in the world. Chan City, the palace. Ever since Ling Yara became the crown princess, the emperor even actively delegated some powers to Ling Yara. Therefore, Ling Yara was busy every day. Report. Internal strife has occurred among the rebels in Dong province. The rebel leader was beheaded, his head sent to the imperial army's camp, and the rebels have surrendered. Report. The rebel leader in Lu province killed several of his confidants in one day. He led the rebels to surrender to the court, asking the court for judgment. Report. Internal strife erupted among the rebels in Xia province. Several factions of rebels fought each other. The majority of the rebels were wiped out in the internal strife, and the remaining rebels were also defeated by our imperial army. With one report after another, Ling Yara felt something was not right. These should all be good news. But why is there a series of such good news? One must know, Dong province, Lu province, and Xia province were all breeding grounds for rebellion. Previously, they were causing chaos. It's just that they didn't make as much noise as the south. But if the court was not powerful enough to suppress the rebellion, given time, the rebels would definitely grow stronger. But now, these rebels were either having internal strife or surrendering. It seemed that overnight, the whole Great Chan had become peaceful again. But is this possible? Lin Yara knew very well. Behind those rebels represented a number of immortal sects. As long as the immortal sects were not extinguished, the rebels would continue to appear. Go, investigate thoroughly what exactly has happened. Focus on the news about those immortal sects, Lin Yara immediately ordered. About a few hours later, Ling Yara's subordinate hurried over. Even his face had a hint of joy. Report. Crown Princess, the matter has been investigated. Just yesterday, the 10 Foundation establishment true persons of the immortal sect set up a trap and attacked the 9 profound sect. The Saber Sage Lin Fei evolved the Saber Momentum and killed the 10 Foundation establishment true persons. Now, led by the Sky-Reaching sect, the 10 major immortal sects have announced that they are sealing the mountain. Whoosh! Ling Yara stood up abruptly. She was greatly shocked. As expected, it has to do with Lin Fei. Killing the 10 Foundation establishment true persons of the immortal sects. All the major immortal sects have announced that they are sealing the mountain. They are scared. Even the founding emperor back then was no more than this. Lin Yara understood. She understood everything. In various places in Great Chan, the rebels were having internal strife or surrendering. Actually, it was because the immortal sects behind them had sealed their mountains. The immortal sects no longer support the rebels. Without the support of the immortal sects, those rebels were just a mob. How could they last long? Therefore, internal strife occurred. And Lin Fei, with his own strength, suppressed the immortal sects. The founding emperor of Great Chan, with his supreme power, swept across all directions, unstoppable. Finally, he established the Great Chan, forcing the major immortal sects to close their gates. This brought about long-lasting peace in the world. Killing the 10 Foundation establishment true persons, Lin Fei is already invincible. Lin Yara murmured in a low voice. In the end, she fell silent. How much time has passed since Lin Fei said that he wanted to reach the peak of the martial Tao? Lin Yara was still immersed in mundane matters, but Lin Fei had quietly achieved his initial dream. Unrivaled in the world. For a martial artist, this is the highest achievement. Now, Lin Fei's words could determine the world. Even the Great Chan royal family had to look at Lin Fei's face. This was what Lin Fei said. When martial arts is practiced to the extreme, one can control fate. Even, not only can one control their own fate, but also the fate of countless people. The path, after all, is chosen by me. Besides, it's already impossible. Lin Yo shook her head. She had chosen power. From then on, Lin Fei and she were people on two different paths. There were no more possibilities. It was her own choice. In the main hall of the Sky-Reaching sect, everyone was silent. In the entire Sky-Reaching sect, there was only one Foundation establishment true person left. Because the two Foundation establishment true persons, True Person Tongjuan and True Person Tongguan, went down the mountain and both were killed by the Saber Sate Lin Fei at the 9 Profound sect. True Person, it seems that Great Chan can still have a few hundred years of national luck. Yes, who would have thought that a Saber Sate Lin Fei would emerge? With his own strength, he killed 10 Foundation establishment true persons. I'm afraid even the founding emperor of Great Chan was no more than this, right? Lin Fei is truly the Saber Saint, evolving the Saber Momentum. Under the Saber Momentum, even Foundation establishment true persons have to weaken their strength by several times. Even if they have precious treasures, they can only be slaughtered. I have to admit, the current Lin Fei is truly unrivaled in the world. Unrivaled, just like the founder of Great Chan, truly unrivaled. Many Qi condensation cultivators began to speak. When they received the news from the 9 Profound sect, they even thought it was a tall tale. A total of 10 Foundation establishment true persons. The 10 Foundation establishment true persons working together could sweep the entire Great Chan. But they were killed by Lin Fei with his own power. This seemed like a tall tale no matter how they look at it. However, when they learned from other hidden immortal sects that those Foundation establishment true persons did not return and more news came in, they finally believed the 10 Foundation establishment true persons were really killed by Lin Fei. Unrivaled. True Person Tongguan, the only Foundation establishment true person in the Sky-Reaching sect, also sighed slightly. Yes, Saber Sate Lin Fei is now unrivaled in the world. Just like the founder of Great Chan. Sweeping all directions, invincible and dominating. Faced with such an opponent, our Sky-Reaching sect has only one choice, and that is to seal the mountain. As long as Lin Fei is there for a day, our Sky-Reaching sect will never come out. Although it's a bit suffocating, this is the way of survival for our immortal sects. We have a mountain protection formation at the Foundation establishment level, which no one can break. As long as we endure until Lin Fei dies or disappears like the first emperor of Great Chan. That will be our opportunity for the immortal sects. Didn't our Sky-Reaching sect survive in this way for 1,000 years? The Qi cultivators of the Sky-Reaching sect also nodded one after another. The so-called immortal sects are like iron, and the dynasties are like flowing water. The inheritance of the immortal sect lasts for hundreds of years, even for several thousands of years. No matter how many strong people are born in the outside world, as long as the mountain gate is sealed, the immortal sect is then cut off from the world. No one can do anything about it. As for the existence of an invincible power in the world, just let him be invincible. After hundreds of years, the immortal sect is still the immortal sect, but the invincible power in the world will die. Thus, the Sky-Reaching sect announced the closure of the mountain. Not only the Sky-Reaching sect, but other hidden immortal sects also announced the closure of the mountain. As a result, almost all the immortal sects in the world have closed their mountains. The entire Great Chan seemed to have fallen into peace. And the name of Saber Saint Lin Fei's invincibility also instantly spread all over the country. Everyone knew Saber Saint Lin Fei, with his own power, suppressed all the immortal sects in the world. He was already like the founder of Great Chan. Unrivaled in the world,